died at the age of 99 years and 9 months old. We decided that we would sell the house, and the house was full of things such as this, all antique. This rifle was found in the back of a storage closet.
Well, that's a very interesting story, because of this pattern of rifle today in the collecting world, in the institutions that we know of, there's probably three, this being the fourth one to turn up from this presentation. And I have a lot of great information for you. In fact, I had one of the other presentation rifles for this same incident, so we're very familiar with it. This pattern of rifle is called a Hall flintlock rifle, and they became used by the regular Army as early as the 1820s and into 1830s. They were a breech loading mechanism where this device down here actually releases this breech here, which pulls up, and you could load the rifle from the back, as opposed to most of our earlier rifles that were muzzle loaders. Later on, this rifle gets adapted from flintlock to percussion. This is still in flintlock, which is the earlier mechanism. There was originally a screw that came up here and held a piece of stone in here that fired as you pulled this back into this position and put what's called the frizzen down. It hit against that, dropping a spark into this breech block, which ignited the barrel. It's a single shot gun, but being a breech loader could be very quickly loaded without having to stand up to ram the ball down and load it each time. Now what happened is this plaque down here is what's of the greatest of significance. This gun actually involves an incident that happened during the War of 1812 in Plattsburgh, New York. And the British, of course, were trying to take New York State again, and the city of Plattsburgh was very significant at that point. A lot of the troops from that area had left the area to engage the British in other parts of the war. When the British decided to ascend on the city of Plattsburgh, most of the troops being gone, one of the local captains of the militia trying to defend the city from the British went to a schoolhouse and was able to take a lot of the boys who were 14 and 15 years old out as the British tried to cross a bridge and come into the city. They were able to hold the British at bay on the other side of the bridge and keep them from crossing the bridge. Now, if you think about it, the British soldiers at this point in time, fresh from the Napoleonic War, were some of the most hardened, battle-hardened soldiers you could have to fight up against. In fact, I can't think of a worse enemy to have at that point in time. And here's some young schoolboys, 14 and 15 years old, saving the city from the British Army coming in on the other side. They were successful. So successful that the captain of the local militia told each one of the boys, "I will make sure that Congress presents each one of you with a rifle." He pursued this. But unfortunately, with the paperwork with Congress and so forth, it took Congress over 20 years to finally approve the purchase and presentation of these rifles. Now this gun, if we look at the plaque back here, it says, "By resolve of Congress, presented to Ethan Everest to his gallantry during the siege of Plattsburgh." Also, there's a plaque back here, which if we turn the rifle, and this plaque has EE, which refers to Ethan Everest, and then it says September 11th, 1814, which is the date of the incident of the siege of Plattsburgh. If we look a little farther up, right here is Hall, and Hall was the designer of this rifle. So when they were presented these rifles, this would have been the most efficient military weapon of the period. But bear in mind, these boys at this point in time would have probably been in their 30s, mid-30s, and this would have been a weapon, more of a military assault weapon, more so than it would have been a hunting weapon due to the length. Today's market value on this gun would be about $35,000 to $40,000. The one I did have was in slightly nicer condition with a lot of the Browning and case color, and it sold for $44,000. So it's a very important weapon you've got here. One thing I would suggest, you have a light coat of surface rust going on here from being in the closet. Put some oil on that to stop that surface rust. And really, other than that, just take care of it.
I was told not to try to doctor it up in any way.
Don't clean it. You never want to clean the guns. But oil will always protect the guns from any further rust. So oil is a way of stopping any potential problems that are going on, but it will not clean the gun. It was a pleasure to see the piece. It's a very important gun.